Real stories, real lives, happening inside China today.
And welcome to the program. I'm your host, Daniel Tang. Just a short notice to all our faithful listeners. After next week, I'll be going on a short 5-week hiatus. You'll find that I will be replaced by another host who will endeavor to work just as hard as I do and be just as interesting as I hope I am. Now, in this edition of Inside China Today, we have 4 news stories. Our first is an update on the unemployment situation in China. Our second feature looks at the latest news on the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners and the lawyers who represent them. Our third feature reports on petitioners in Shanghai who've been forced to, duck and cover while President Barack Obama visits. And lastly, the effect major river dams are having on China's waterways. First off, however, in recent years, the employment rate among Chinese university graduates has remained at 72%. Up until the end of 2008, over 1 million graduates couldn't find jobs. According to mainland Chinese media, the Educational Sciences College of East China Normal University conducted a study into the living conditions of job-seeking university graduates, targeting students in Shanghai. The results showed 68.1% of the group believed finding a job was the most important task every day. 43.3% used their free time to study on their own or attend various training courses for self-improvement. During the course of job searching, many feel tired and depressed. 57.1% feel exhausted, 40.1% feel lost, and 22.6% were disappointed with life. Eating from the old is a label despised by this group as they're forced to rely on their families for support. Rather than intentionally eating the old, however, most actually feel guilty about being supported financially. This guilt puts them under tremendous psychological pressure. According to the study, many graduates have made accurate assessments of themselves. The current employment environment and industry structure has something to do with the way these groups can't find jobs. In other words, the plight of these graduates is due to a combination of there being too many graduates and inadequate social structures. Now, this next story is brought to you by Caden Pearson, who may be replacing me next week. You won't know until then. And it's another look at the state of the Falun Gong persecution in China. I've mentioned before how when the campaign was started, the 610 office, established on this 10th of June, was set up to deal specifically with Falun Gong. Subsequently, all state organs have the power to transcend Chinese laws to carry out the crackdown. This next report gives us insight into just what I mean.
There's absolutely no rule of law in China, says Chinese lawyer. Li Renbing is defending Wei Cheng, a Falun Gong practitioner accused of being, a Falun Gong practitioner. This spiritual practice of mind and body teaches the tenets of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. It was outlawed in China in 1999. Since then, reports have come out of China daily about the brutal persecution suffered by these people under the communist regime. This strong statement by Wei's attorney came after 7 Falun Gong practitioners were dealt hefty prison terms by the Changchun City Intermediate Court. One of the accused, Wei, was first sentenced to 8 years in his initial trial. His case then went through a second trial, and Wei was sentenced to an additional 10 years. The sentences were combined to 18 years incarceration, with deprivation of political rights for 4 years, a total of 22 years of punishment, all because of his beliefs. Wei's attorney told SOH he had never seen any court violating the law to such an extent, saying it is simply irrational. He said, "This case has gone through investigation by the Changchun City Procuratorate, the Changchun City Intermediate Court, the Changchun City Politics and Law Committee, Jilin Province Politics and Law Committee, Jilin Province Procuratorate, and the Jilin Province Supreme Court. It has gone through so many levels of investigation, but still, the final result is to keep the original judgment. It is very unfair to sentence Wei Cheng in the manner of combining different kinds of punishments. The first trial sentenced him to 8 years, the second trial 10 years. When combined, he was sentenced to 18 years in prison, far exceeding the highest punishment of 15 years stipulated in China's criminal law. This judgment itself is an unabashed violation of the law. It is the first time I have ever encountered this situation in my career as a lawyer. That is to say, there is absolutely no rule of law in China. The law is not even a decoration in today's China. The attorneys for the accused, 14 of them in total, were informed of the trial with just 2 days' notice. They rushed to Nong An County to participate, but in the end were denied access to their clients and to the trial. Officials from the Politics and Law Committee even told the attorneys frankly that they care only about politics and ignore the rules of law. The attorneys felt the court procedure had seriously violated the law, which they now believe doesn't even exist in Communist China. Tang Jitian was employed to represent one of the accused, Han Shixiang. Tang told SOH, "The first trial was a violation of the law to begin with. It is illegal from all aspects, including the procedure and the nature of the judgment. The second trial was a public trial. The detention center tried all means to prevent me from seeing my client. In the end, 2 of my colleagues went to the Politics and Law Committee. The way the receptionist behaved, basically, was as the saying goes, I'm a ruffian and who would I be afraid of? They did not care about the law or basic rules at all. In the end, he said, do not talk about laws with us. You may try to look for whoever you want to see, but you definitely cannot go to see them." These 7 practitioners filed an appeal in March. It took nearly 7 months for the judgment to finalize, despite the nation's criminal law procedure saying the court must handle the appeal within 1.5 months. Another of the accused, Zhang Wanjun, was sentenced to 9 years in prison, with his political rights being deprived for 3 years. Zhang's attorney believes the judgment lacks factual evidence. The Clear Wisdom website published an article on the situation at 1 p.m. on October 23rd. According to the article, Hang Xishang and Li Fengming were sentenced to 14 years in prison, Wang Xiuping and Zhao Yushu to 10 years in prison, Wei Cheng to 18 years, Qi Yunchao and Zhang Wanjun to 9 years in prison. The court was surrounded by military police dressed in bulletproof clothing during the illegal trial. Caden Pearson, SOH, Brisbane.
You're listening to Inside China Today on the SOH Radio Network.